Yay, hello.
Yes. Hi. All right, let's
Hi, this is so great that I get to see you.
oh my God, I haven't seen you in 2 years.
Uh,
I
Last time was in the Philadelphia Art Museum,
know.
which was so random. I was like, what of all, why are you doing, what are you doing here?
Yeah, that was I so out of place because I don't live there and you don't live there. So
Yeah,
that
it was insane. I was like, wait, this doesn't make sense. But, and now I'm in LA.
was I was so nervous. Like every time I talk to you normally, I'm fine. But all of a sudden I'm
Oh,
like, oh my God, you are a big deal. I forget that when we just
oh,
ran
come
into each other
on. No,
random.
no, no, no.
You're
It,
so you're so humble. This time, last 2 months have been pivotal for so many people in so many different ways. And as terrifying as the immediate life has been, it's also opened up people to so much creative energy and expression. So we actually we started making a shift. I started making a big shift. So during this time, the stores closed. My wholesale is gone, like nothing, no orders, nothing. And I am sitting on all these stones that arrived. So one of the things I immediately dove into is what I know best is how to style people. So I'm going to tell you, ever since your visit here, one of the things that we've done, we fully embrace educating people that jewelry that you wear that is closest to your face has to work with your skin tones, have to work with your personality, has to really represent to the world who you are. And it's not an afterthought. So we've been using a lot of techniques related to color and identifying people's complexions. We didn't dive yet in the archetypes. It was a little,
well, there's
I,
still time.
yes, yes, maybe we'll have another talk about it. So I wanted to start with asking you what you have done over the last 2 months. And especially, I don't know if people know what the latest big project you've been on.
Oh, sure. So in addition to writing The Color of Style, Color Your Style, and How to Win at Shopping, and working with private clients throughout the US and Europe, my background is costume design. And so last June, I was asked to go back to television, where I was costume designing, and take on the role of costume designer for the CBS show The Young and the Restless. So that's what has been keeping me out of trouble up until March 16th, I think it is. And so anyway, that's what I've been doing since that time. This at-home period, it's one of those things where I think the moment that you say, it's not up to me, I didn't make this decision, but now I'm here. The minute you can sort of let that go and just go, wait a minute, I'm at home. I can actually enjoy being with myself or being with my family or, and a lot of us are still working. I'm still working, but at the same time, this shift, it's like the minute we didn't fight it, because there's nothing to fight. It's like, no, you're doing this. We're all doing this. And so I have to say that just from a creative standpoint, this period has been incredible. Just last night, for instance, I was trying to go to sleep, and the creative ideas that just flood my mind daily are crazy. And I think it's because we kind of have made, we all have a little bit more space for them right now. And so anyway, so I've been working on a lot of projects. I've been doing a lot of interviews. I've been lecturing at a lot of colleges. A lot of my friends are college professors, and they've got a full curriculum to fill up. And so they've reached out and doing that. And and working with clients remotely. I've been doing a lot of styling, going through people's closets via Zoom or FaceTime. So it's been good. And I've also been working on my next books. And yeah, it's been, at first I was like, oh, wow, what are my days going to be like? And now I'm like, I'm shocked at how much I get done in a day. But it's been, I've looked at it as sort of how how would I say, like a strange gift this period. You know, it's sort of, it just gave us that extra space and to maybe access things that we have never made time for before.
Well, I'm on a spiritual realm. So this is a very good cleansing time for environment, for energy. So what we're accessing now, it's less pollution. I think the first few weeks everybody was watching on Netflix, all you see everybody watching all these pandemic, and I was like, stop. But now it shows you like people watching funny stuff. So yeah, I've rediscovered my love of jewelry. I've rediscovered that not only I love what I do creatively, but also what I did not realize is, because I know what to put together and I just whip it like it makes sense, how many people don't? And it's so interesting to me when it comes to clothing, there are references to what do you do? How do you find you? I mean, you go to stores and then people can at least guide you or you have some sort of knowledge. But when it comes to jewelry, especially styling, unless you deal with monochromatics, like gold chains you see everywhere, you talk color, people don't get it. So it's been such an incredible journey to do like styling Zoom calls and like, okay, take a picture of everything you have. Let's go over it, what goes with what. So I thought, take this month into a few webinars that help people look at their jewelry through the eyes of professionals in various fields. So because you're the king of color and the subject matter expert, I have a few questions for you.
Sure, yeah.
So, well, first, I just wanted to even, for the historic knowledge, like at what age and how did this even, I mean, this is a gift. What you have and your book, the way you feel it and express it, it's a gift. So when did you discover that and how?
Well, first of all, I think everyone has gifts. And I think that a lot of us just have yet to, how would I say, utilize them or have them focused and nurtured and so on. So my gift, I feel, was I always had this this crazy, how would I say, intuition is the best way to put it, as to what looked good on people. And I think a lot of, you've heard a lot of, the cliche stylist in a sitcom, coming on wearing every trend, and they say, well, I just have great taste. And when you think about it, it's like, that's not it, like that's not enough to be a good stylist. And so I would probably say when I was about 5 years old, I remember helping my parents get dressed for a party, saying to my mother, that necklace, not that one. And then I said to my father, that shirt and tie. And he said, you can mix patterns. And I said, yes. And, right around that time, probably when I was 6, I think they enrolled me in art classes on Saturdays. But I also had a grandfather who was an artist, an aunt who was an amateur artist as well. And so I had a lot of visual stimulation around me, a lot of access to great art and design. My family would often take us to New York City and do a lot of museum visits and so on. But I remember also like being around, 6 or 7 and being in a store and my mother was trying something on. And, most children are climbing the walls when their mother is shopping, right? And like terrorizing the store or hiding or whatever. And I was like walking around the store thinking, oh, that would be nice on Aunt Carol. And that would look good on my grandmother. And I think I just had this feeling as to it was about slotting things, like putting them in a logical place for me. And, it was a case of, I always had this ability, but I didn't really have words for it. And so when I was at NYU studying costume design, I would often design productions for the college. And my teachers would come and you'd always want to get their feedback when you're a student. And I would say, well, what did you think? Can you tell me, what you liked? And I remember a teacher saying to me, well, I just have questions as to why did you put him in the orange tie and why did you put her in the turquoise dress? And I said, oh gosh, did you not like it? And he said, no, you just need a reason for every choice you make. And I think I said to him on the spot, I didn't know why I made the choice, but it was quote unquote just right. And it was really a pivotal moment for me because I realized that was the time where I needed to come up. It's almost like I had the talent or the ability, but I had no context to it. It was just kind of it's like, oh, it's just what I do. And, you know, and so I couldn't explain it in any way, shape, or form. And when you're working in theater or television or with a client, one of the most important things I think, is to talk to them about why you're making certain choices. You know, you have a lot of angles in your face, and so we've gone for a neckline that's more of a V-neck, and I mean, just simple things even, but to give some context. And so that was sort of the second big moment for me when I realized, oh, I have to put words around all of this. It's almost like we're watching the television with the sound off, and we have to turn the sound on with it. And so around that time is when I thought, well, I need to create more context. And I actually started, even right after college, I started taking a lot of classes in art history and color theory, and got to really intersect with a lot of people who had made their lives about this idea of color theory and so on. And there was one woman in particular that I met named Suzanne Cagle, who was really a pioneer of this. And I'll never forget that the night I met her, I went home and I couldn't sleep. And because my brain just kept going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, there can be context around every gut feeling I've ever had, because she had a whole, you know, theory about how to use color and so on. And that was really for me, that was a tipping point of going, okay, now I'm really gonna, you know, go for this, and I'm able to explain it. And I never would have been able to write books just saying, well, I have great taste, so.
Yeah,
So I knew what to do, but I knew the theory, but I didn't know how to verbalize it. And so that's how it all started, really. And then that led me to a lot of different possibilities, and I ended up doing my own fashion line for a while, dressing a lot of celebrities, and then that literally led me to designing for television. So
that's fantastic. So it's actually a nice segue. So we have easily embraced the concept of seasonality when it comes to jewelry, because we've learned if you winter, you got to wear silver, and we can help you find colors to go with the silver jewelry. Like there's a whole bunch of selections. So we embrace seasons, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. But in your book, you actually talk about the 6 true colors, which is a very interesting way to approach building up a wardrobe. You know, you have your romantic, your dramatic, your tranquil, your essence, your base. So I have all the colors. Like we have cheat sheets. Like, okay, what is so? Because in your book, we kind of looking at building somebody's wardrobe of clothing. You know, how do you want to present yourself to the world in different situations, and how do you want to feel in those situations? I would love to approach jewelry the same way versus just being you winter, that's all we're going to buy. So for somebody to start building or expanding their jewelry, colorful jewelry collection, what would be, like I had identified a few from your book, but what would be the 3 collections, 3 true colors for people to start with? And then I'll add another question after that.
okay. So in my book, Color Your Style, which I happen to have here, I teach you how to look at your eyes, hair, and skin and determine what your personal color palette is. And so in the book, one of the colors that I help you find is the romantic color. And this is your version of red. This is like the vitality on the palette. It's the sexy color. It's like, you know, the Valentine Day dress color. And so this is a great color in jewelry. However, what I would say is I think it's a little bit more special occasion or steamrolling the business meeting for it to go your way. Like it's a very powerful color. You know, when we think back to the 1980s and the talk of power colors of, you know, bright red and cobalt blue, it's kind of that energy. So the romantic color is found by literally pinching your finger like this and seeing the undertone that's there. And the best thing I could say about this is when a department store is open, I would go to the lipstick counter there and hold it up to the different lipsticks that are there. That's a really easy one. In my book, I talk about using paint chips at the hardware store to determine all of this. But I would say the romantic color is a fabulous pop color. And it's also, you know, it's a good date color, you know, to use in jewelry too. In terms of the all-purpose color in jewelry, you know, there's one color on everyone's palette that I just think could be used in anything in the wardrobe. And that's what I call your energy color. And it's the darkest color in your iris. And so it's a very, how would I say, it just matches, it matches that color, but it also just connects with your energy. It's like you are who you are. You look very friendly, very approachable in it. The energy color is, you know, it could be a brown, it could be a blue, a green, a violet, a gold. One tip I will give to anyone with brown eyes, that brown eyes are seldom really brown. You just have to look a little harder. And I would say my best tip around that is, you know, hold up some aubergine or purple swatches, hold up some golds, some oranges, some greens to see what's really there. Because especially when they're a darker brown, it's just a little bit for the average person to see. It just takes a little bit more time and effort, and that will help. But the energy color is really very friendly, very approachable, great for travel, great for work, fabulous for a Zoom or a Facebook live chat like this. So it's a really great color for that. And so I would say that for jewelry is wonderful as well. And then the other color I'd probably, you know, I might say the dramatic color, which is your kaboom, look at me color on the palette. It's like the romantic, it's higher energy. It is found by looking at the vein in your wrist. And it's definitely going to be a blue, green, or a purple. And I happen to be wearing my dramatic color in my jacket today because I wanted to stand out with this crowd behind me. But that's another great color for jewelry because again, it's high impact and it's a real kapow color. So I would say, like, you know, obviously any of your true colors can work in jewelry or clothing, but I would say that I think those are three that are great to look at.
Well, the way we wanted to help clients build their jewelry collection is go with the same concept of you need to have jewelry that you wear to your big time meetings, your interviews, but then you also need to have jewelry. And this is what I was going to ask you. So you defining base true colors. There's three: first base, second base, and third base, which was very funny. I was like, oh, third base. Anyway. So what I like about that concept, it gives you your kind of day-to-day, because a lot of times people, when it comes to jewelry, they don't want to think too hard. I just want to wear something. So there is a base version kind of in jewelry as well. So I was kind of thinking, do you think it's a good way for somebody who's nervous to, like, oh, I'm not ready to do something with the drama, I just want something for every day? Would that kind of be a good direction to teach them about three bases?
Sure. So in the book, I talk about your the neutrals in your palette. And everyone has their own set of neutrals. And I call them the first, second, and third bases. And the first base is found by looking at the rim around your iris. And this typically, if you look in your jewelry drawer or jewelry case, it's often your favorite eyeliner. It's always a darker neutral, a mid-tone to darker neutral. It might be a dark Wedgwood blue. It could be navy. It could be a purple. It could be a very dark green. It could be a brown or a gray, but it's typically an eye pencil color. And so a lot of times when I work with clients and they look at their palette and they say, oh my, and I say, oh, the first base is good for eyeliner and you probably have one. And they often say that they do. So that's that color, and that's like your version of black. So that's the formal neutral. So I don't know if I would say that buying a lot of jewelry in that color is the best idea, just because our lives are not as formal, again, for evening or a very important business meeting, sure. But I'd probably go to the second or third base. And the second and third bases are the darker and lighter color found in your hair. And my best tips on finding this is if you say, oh, well, I have brown hair, again, look closely. What is the darkest color? Go out in the sunlight. Do all of a sudden you see, oh, wow, like there's actually, in my brown hair, there's actually like this olivey cast to it. And the same thing with the lighter end as well. Like be creative and look at different swatches and so on. But the second and third base, I consider like your version of brown and khaki, like more everyday and casual neutrals. So I would say if you were to wanted a necklace or a ring or earrings that kind of went with everything and were not the focal point of the outfit. In that case, sure, I think using stones in that second or third base would be lovely, really lovely. And a little bit unexpected too, which is nice. And I think, I always say the unexpected draws the eye. So unexpected is a good word.
Yeah, I actually was going to bring, and I totally spaced. I was going to bring swatches of my colors. You have your swatches of fabric. I have this long string of different colors of gems, because you can find, like, I have so many, I have like probably 17 colors of blue. Because
right. Oh, wonderful.
Oh yeah. So one thing in the book that was interesting, and I could not put my finger on it, I kind of got a feel for it, but when you talk about essence color, so one of the true colors that is, can you elaborate a little bit more on the essence color and why is it important to have in your wardrobe?
So the essence color is your version of quote unquote nude, or it's basically your skin tone. It's often, it's easiest found if you, it's a color that if you put a swatch of it in the palm of your hand, everything around it in your hand would just look very smooth and very glowy. The lines would soften, the vein would not pop out, the fingertips don't get brown or gray or any funky color that shouldn't be there. It's a really glowy tone. And so this color is, the essence color I think is absolutely beautiful. It's a great alternative to white. I think it's the most soulful color that you can wear because it's like being nude. It's incredible. It's not always great in the business setting because it's a little bit vulnerable. But I think for casual, for summer clothes, I love it when it's really hot out. What a great color to wear, to feel like you're wearing nothing when it's really hot. But I think it's a gorgeous color. I think it's soulful. I think it's elegant. And it's also because it just connects with your skin tone, when you add it into an outfit, it's not like adding an additional anything. It's just kind of, connects with what's there already. So I think it's stunning. I think it's a really stunning idea. And again, it's one of those things that, so there's so many horrible myths about color. Like whenever I hear like blank is always appropriate, you know, or everyone looks good in blank. And I'm not going to name these colors, but
Really?
but I hear this all the time. And, you know, I think that color is so individual. And when I hear over the years, I've heard so many times, oh, don't wear that color. It's too much like your skin. And I'm like, that's the beauty of it. Like the beauty of it is that it's subtle. It's not creating a crazy contrast. And, you know, it's just connecting with and blending with what's there. And I personally feel that the essence color is one of the most beautiful things one can wear.
Well, you know, it's interesting. So as a jewelry designer, obviously, I get to go to trade shows and see other designers. And it's amazing to me. There's literally, I can count probably on my one hand how many designers actually embrace color.
Wow.
Because, and you probably know as you work with a lot of artists when we design jewelry for your show, you know, there's not a lot of selection because there's so much there's just so much of this notion of you cannot put certain colors together. You cannot do this. There's a lot of cannot. And you know, I grew up in Ukraine, so we didn't, I don't know. I didn't watch commercials. I didn't take formal education. I don't know what's okay, what's not okay. So you almost have to trust your instinct. If you gravitate towards certain color, trust your body to have that intuition and find a way to incorporate it. You know, and then you talk a lot about, you know, clothing, but also accessories. That's like, yeah, I love people embracing color and being open to it. So, but one thing I'll tell you, I kind of struggle. It's a little embarrassing. So I can spot autumn and spring, no problem. Like I can see them a mile away. And you actually talk in your book, a lot of times you can spot people's season by tone of their voice. And I'm like, oh my God, it's spot on. I can tell autumn and I can tell spring because personality could not be more different. But when it comes to winter and summer, so I was gonna ask you, because sometimes I'm like, I have a feel like you kind of winter, but I think you'd look good in pink. As somebody who's gonna have to explain it to people that pink is okay, or demystify to people that maybe you are summer, would you give me an advice, the best way to separate the two? How do I go about it?
Well, the thing is, you know, I believe that there are 24 archetypes of women and they're broken up into 4 seasons so that there are 6 in each. And I think prior ideas about color were, you know, the seasonal approach of your autumn, your spring, your winter, your summer. And the way they would break it up was very cut and dry, that if you looked good in gold, you would be a autumn or a spring, and if you were winter or summer, you looked good in silver, and that was it. I don't believe in that. And part of the reason I think I took 20 years to write my book is that I didn't want to put that out there because I didn't believe it. I felt that we are so individual. So when you describe a woman that you say, oh, I think she's winter, but I think pink would be good on her, you know, I would say that that's probably, if you're getting that strong intuition, she probably looks great in pink, you know? And so we all have a personal color palette. So I think that I would say that the best advice I could give you on, you know, differentiating the different archetypes is to maybe, one thing that I know a lot of young stylists have told me that what they fall into very easily is they look at someone and get a quick impression of them and go, oh, they're da 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 da, because they have dark hair. And I think that after one has done this a long time, you know, I've done this work for 30 years, I kind of can do that, you know, I can like do that. But someone asked me the other day, well, how can you do that so quickly? And how, you know, and I said, you know, when I'm doing the quick assessment, I'm breaking down the eyes, hair, and skin as I look at them. I'm not blurring it all together and saying, well, she's a type, she slots here. Well, first of all, that's not how I work, because I look at everyone as an incredible individual. But I look at the eyes, the hair, and the skin, and what is the dynamic between the three. And, a lot of time, there are really no rules. That's part of the reason why some of the earlier very simple color systems, I feel, aren't quite as helpful, although they're a great starting point, is that they don't take into account that you could have very warm skin and very cool eyes, and that's why I say break it all down, even though someone might be a winter, and her skin tone is cool, maybe she has warm eyes, or there's a warm tone in her hair. It's possible, and that's why you're saying, oh, sometimes I want to break, I think what I'm supposed to do one thing, but then I want to do something else. And my feeling is your intuition is probably right. And that I think that these, what looks good on each of us is not cut and dry. Think about it this way. Like, if 3 friends that look great in navy blue, right? Really good in navy blue. Does each of them wear that navy blue the same way, in the same cuts, in the same designers? Do they pair it with the same colors? Do they pair it with the same jewelry tones? No. So it's sort of like everything is so singular. So I think my best advice is, your intuition's right. And I would say break down those 3 individual elements, and that will be really helpful. Because the idea is you want to say, well, where does the color come from? Why am I feeling this color would look good on her? You've got to, and I would say, figure out where exactly it fits, where it comes from.
It's your eyes, your skin, and your hair.
Correct.
So it's actually, before I dive in my next question, it's so interesting how one of the things that I love about none of my drawers are closed. So I kind of tell people, try stuff on, because people do have ideas in their heads. They just like, no, I don't want to, no, let's try. And I feel like you saying, just try things on, just like with the color swatches. It's just, you have to put pieces against your skin to just get a feel for, does it look good? Because a lot of times you can't think it. You cannot think it. You have to feel it.
There's a lot. I also have to say that I feel like a lot of the work that I do is almost undoing something that someone has held on to. I hear time and time again, my mother always dressed me in pink and gray. And so I have a lot of pink and gray in my wardrobe, and they don't even think about it, because it's like, oh, mother said it was right. Or the opposite happens, where they completely rebel against it and all color. But I usually, I would say we're programmed in certain ways. Like, I'll never forget, I many, many years ago, when I had my own fashion line, I was invited to this very fancy party on Fifth Avenue at Bulgari. And I went with a friend, and it was all society, New York society there. It was a wonderful fundraiser. And I was part of the event, actually. I had a dress on display for it. And I went with a friend of mine, and she wore one of my dresses that was a bright orange dress, really amazing cocktail dress. And we walked in the front door, and the party probably had a good 300 people at it. And she was one of 3 women not in black in the entire room. One woman was in navy, and one was in a white dress, a silver dress, gold shoes, a bronze bag, and some other metallic head. It was, kind of a costume, I would say. But we walked in the front door, and the photographers went insane. And she was not famous, but she wore color, and she looked great in it. And I would say that what went through the minds of probably every woman going to that party was, well, I don't know what to wear, so I'll wear the black dress, or And I think that many of us have this idea of, well, we love color, because I really believe that everyone loves color, but we're afraid of it. And we're afraid of making the wrong statement with color. I find that time and time again, or that we feel like there are these parameters. I worked with a client recently who said, well, my age is blank, and women my age don't wear this color. And I was like, where do you get this from? I'm like, it looks good on you, you wear it. You know, I feel like I don't want anyone to have these tight fences around them. And I think what you just said about trying things on and experimenting, and, you know, if you've always, what I find when I work with clients is that time and again, we will create a custom palette for them. And at the end of it, they will say, oh my God, that's the color I wore to my prom. That's the color I painted my bedroom. And I'll say, well, have you worn it since? And they go, no. And for some reason, they had a moment where they were completely authentic and said, I love that color, and wore it and experienced it. And then somehow that moment passed, or they're, you know, it was somehow denied to them going forward. And I'm just so thrilled to open them back up to it. But as you said, you know, seeing color in context with you is very important, because a lot of us, one thing I notice a lot of times, people will often pass a garment or an accessory and go, wow, that color, and they'll love it there. Yeah. And they put it on, and they're not seeing themselves in it. They're like, still like loving it there. And the idea is, no, then you have to focus when it's on you, because I really feel that when we dress ourselves, what we're really doing is we're completing a great master painting, so that we've already been painted. We have coloring, we have eyes, hair, skin, but our clothing and our accessories can bring all of that out and bring it forward, or it can create dissonance. So one of the great examples I have for that is, if we think about Mona Lisa, if she was painted wearing a neon pink dress and a cobalt blue background, we wouldn't notice her. It would look weird. Like, can you imagine how strange that? It's just wrong. And so the idea of, when you are dressing yourself, accessorizing yourself, it's about completing the painting and connecting with something that's there already.
Well, you know, it's just struck quite a few chords. So one of the things I always tell people, because the way people shop for jewelry, it's a little bit different than the way they shop for clothing. It's usually occasion specific or wardrobe specific. Mm-hmm. So, and there's always like, oh my God, I don't know, I need to go home and see my wardrobe. Would it work with it? And I always say, you are the common denominator. If it looks good on you right now, if it looks good on your skin, against your face, if it makes you smile, I will guarantee it's going to work with everything in your wardrobe. I'm such a just big believer in, you do not need to match piece. Well, all my pieces have color. So when I say jewelry, I'm actually talking about color that is like right here. This is my contribution to clothing. I will put color in you right here and right here. So, but you know, the other thing, you kind of struck the chord with me, which is funny. So I grew up in Ukraine, and in metal finish, the gold where I grew up is actually rose gold. The color is pink. Uh-huh. So guess what my dress was at my wedding? You know, I got married like 6 months ago.
I know, congratulations.
It was rose gold. I don't know why, and that's what you said, like sometimes color just comes back to you. And ever since this quarantine, I have rose gold pieces laid out, and like all of a sudden I'm playing with colors to go with rose gold. I think it strikes you at some point again. It's just, you have to trust it, I think.
I do too, yeah.
So one of the things I was going to ask you, you probably noticed, so I went totally native. I am totally let my natural platinum that I've earned over the years go full on gray. And I have a lot of clients that, you know, embracing that as well, and they no longer coloring their hair. So let's assume somebody's had a wardrobe and they've done color analysis, and they do understand, and like they spend last 20, 30 years of their adult life knowing what colors look good on them. But now they have different hair color. So what advice would you give them? Do they need to revisit their wardrobe? Do they just, what would you suggest? Would they change really mean something?
So, so first of all, coloring your hair or not coloring your hair is a personal choice. So I start with that. If someone decides to go natural, what I would say is that the colors that you wear, in terms of what we talked about earlier, the romantic color, the dramatic color, those colors all stand. They all stay exactly as they are. It's literally the neutrals. It's the second and the third base that may shift a bit. So let's say your second base or your version of brown was a dark plum color, right? And you've gone natural, and your hair, the whole contrast in your hair is softened, and everything's just a little bit more, is lighter, and so on. You may find that wearing a lighter version of that plum is prettier, just a little bit lighter handed. You might find the plum just a little clunky or heavy right now. So what I would say is things shift a little bit. You know, the bases, the second and third base, again, the version of brown and khaki, could also, they may become a little bit cooler. You know, not everyone's hair, as it, you know, as it quote unquote goes gray. You know, if you look at, you know, if you look at colors like oyster, you know, oyster, has like a little greeny yellow cast to it. So it has a little bit of warmth even. And so what I would say is look at what's there. You know, I would say take that time. Don't just assume, oh, well, these are my colors. And, you know, I would say do that little adjustment if you make a change like that. I want to share with you the story of, the person who didn't do that. So when I grew up in the middle of New York State, my brother and I would talk about the woman down the street as the lips, because she was a woman of a certain age who clearly at age 17 discovered hot pink lipstick that looked great on her. But now, you know, 75 years later, she would come down the street and literally you only saw these hot pink, like in the middle of winter, she'd wear a white coat against the white snow and you would just see these pink lips coming at you. And so that's a case of someone saying, well, this is my lipstick. And it's like, yeah, but it's actually like not connecting with you anymore. You know, she needed to look in the mirror and go, does this suit me? And that's something that I think we all should do. I really love the idea of, I suggest twice a year if it's possible. And right now with the pandemic, people do have a little extra time, so do it now. But I like the idea of doing check-ins with your wardrobe. I like the idea of closing your bedroom door, putting on your favorite music, maybe there's a glass of wine involved, and just try everything on in your closet. And the idea is not, does it fit me? Does it suit me right now? Is this who I am? In the last year, did I change careers and I'm not corporate anymore? You know, or did the last kid leave the house and did I go back to work? You know, and what does that mean? And I feel that our wardrobe, our accessories, all of our jewelry, of course, I love that idea of going through it on a regular basis. And it just, because then you literally have a working closet and not a clothing museum of, you know, your favorite things. It's like, no, it should be a working closet of things that you actually wear, things that suit you, and that really flatter as well.
Well, it's funny. It's one of the questions I have. This is kind of my experience. So during the pandemic, you know, my store's closed. I've reached out to some customers and I've suggested, I said, you know what, why don't you lay out all your jewelry and take a picture? And if you are not going to be the one kind of judging what it all looks like, let me kind of evaluate what you have. And quite a few of my clients had this one extra pile of stuff. Oh, I never wear it. But you know, when it comes to clothing, you know, you have that hanger rule where if you turn all the hangers around and a year or 2 or 3 or 20 years later, it's still turned that way, you know, you don't wear it. But I don't understand when it comes to jewelry, why people holding on, sometimes it's crap they bought at sample sale. Like, it was a moment you paid $25, even if you pay $100. Like, I'm looking at some pieces, I was like, it was a moment. It's why holding on to it. And they count it as, well, now I have jewelry. So it's a different mentality when it comes to jewelry versus clothing. Clothing, you know, you're going to purge it. It's a season change. It's a style change. You no longer rebellious hippie, you know. So, but when it comes to jewelry, I find so many obstacles with people just relinquishing what no longer suits them. So actually one thing I'm going to do, I swear I'm going to do this after we open, like we open now, but once people want to come out. I want to pop a whole bunch of tables in the store and have everybody bring out their, I don't wear jewelry, and just do jewelry trade out party. Just have people.
What a great idea.
Like, I don't know if you've ever discovered that. I know when you do, you know, the sets, like when you design, like when you were on All My Children, after, you know, you transition out of it and they transition out of it, at least temporarily, what happens with all that stuff? Is it like junked, given as a gift?
So when you work on a show like that, like All My Children, and now with The Young and the Restless, what we do is I do probably regular, like twice yearly purges. And if I say, oh, you know, the character is never going to wear that again, we will will either go, well, with CBS, it will either go to rentals, and if rentals does not choose to use it, it will go to a resale shop. And the show takes care of it. And a lot of times fans will buy the items, you know, with the character's name in it and so on. So it's not always that someone's going to wear it, but it's a collectible item as well. So yeah, it's a great, because we have, my God, how many pieces do we buy in a season? You know, The Young and the Restless has about 30 characters, and they each have extensive wardrobes and a lot of jewelry and a lot of shoes. And so, yeah, we do have to thin it down season to season.
I'm going to have to try to convince clients how to do that.
But I love the idea of a swap, though. I think that's a wonderful idea, because what doesn't work on one person will work beautifully on someone else.
Well, and we'll combine it with wine tasting, I think. I'll invite you over. So I didn't know if I could ask this question. You can always say you cannot answer, but last year, I love getting orders from you for the show, because you go beyond just what you see the style, and then you kind of know who you're shopping for, which character. So it was this beautiful color combination that was custom. It was lavenders and pinks. I love playing with that. Thank you for letting me. Would you be comfortable saying which character ended up wearing that combo?
Was it with silver?
Yeah.
We used it on the character Abby on The Young and the Restless. Yeah.
I'm gonna look her up. I was so curious, because it's it turned out very soft and romantic, and I have all these lavenders I never know what to do with, because people actually, again, I would love to put lavenders on spring. I would love to create these soft color palettes, but people are a little nervous on certain colors, because lavender makes them think of pink. I don't know what it is about pink. The Hot Lips needs to teach a class. So, I have another question, and I don't want to totally exhaust you, but I'm going to ask anyway.
I'm here. Exhaust me.
So, love how you define your true colors. Like, everybody, as they're creating their wardrobe, they should evaluate their wardrobe with purpose. You know, what do you portray to the world in certain scenarios and situations, and how do you want to feel in those situations? So I know as a woman, there are a few things go through our minds. One of them is dating and love. So let's use romantic color as your example. So let's say my romantic color, and by the way, I'm not that, I don't have a vast vocabulary as you do with all the names of reds. I think I need to get a cheat sheet or ask you how you learn all the names. But let's say the color is true red. This just rich blue infused red that's just close to my lipstick actually. So with that, let's say she's going out. What should she stay in a minimalist, soft, maybe her very own essence colors as accessories, or should she just punch it up and just keep in this, like, where do I go in my recommendation for somebody?
So this is a case where I like that. I have two things with that. With a color like that, I would probably style it with all metallic jewelry,
Okay.
or I would go with dark, they're dark neutral.
Okay.
You know, like their version of brown or their version of black, or, you know, but a dark, because imagine, you know, if on your palette you also have like a dark aubergine color, how exciting would an earring with aubergine with the red, like that combination? And it's, again, not to overuse my favorite word, but it's unexpected and it's exciting. You know, I think so many people would just put rhinestones with it, or, you know, something, or they try to match the red. And then it's like, oh, it's too much. When you do something like that in an outfit, I think of it this way. It's kind of like Maria in The Sound of Music, where she has all of that curtain fabric, so all the kids are going to get an outfit. It's like, it's just too much of the same in one place. And so I think when you're matching, you know, trying to match the same, again, if there's an earring that's multicolored that has a touch of red in it, that's lovely. But doing all red and a red, no, I don't think so. But I think the dark neutral is exciting. And, you know, it's something that you're not going to see when you go to that party. No one else is going to be doing that. And I love that. I like singular design like that. We can all go to the department store and buy the same dress, you know, 10 people, 12 people, but it's, again, it's how you style it that makes it so unique and so exciting.
Well, you know, and we women have so much guilt with spending money on ourselves. And when it comes, we have tremendous guilt. We're not peacocks. We don't want to stand out too much. We think everybody's going to judge us if we didn't put the right things together, but we also do not feel comfortable spending money on ourselves. So when it comes to jewelry, it's almost like somebody just wants, like, give me one piece that will go with everything and I don't ever have to spend money on jewelry again. And I love what you kind of opening us up with the education when it comes to color. You can make a small investment and have just one dress and have 5 or 6 accessories that completely change the mood of the dress, they can make it more bohemian and chill and modern, or they can make it sleek and sophisticated, almost like I am the diva and I am here to claim it. So your book is amazing. So I know I have the older version. I definitely want to get the new version of the book, Color Your Style, in my store. And I actually was hoping if we could sometimes maybe get some autographed copies, because
sure, we can do that. Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Anything for you.
Oh, Dave, that's so sweet. So I know we write at 4 o'clock, well, almost at 4 o'clock. I love talking to you about just these theories, because sometimes I feel like am I all alone trying to convince people? You know, I'm not a clothing store that can just keep showing, like, it's a jewelry. How do I convince people that Approach your jewelry choices not as an afterthought. Shop it just as you would shop your outfits for specific occasions, and plan it. And don't be afraid to get rid of stuff that no longer suits you. So,
yeah, the cleansing thing is important, you know, like making space in your wardrobe for things that suit you, you know, and people clutter up their closets and drawers quite a bit. Everyone does it. And it's important to really look at, you know, what are you wearing? And I always say, like, a lot of the clues to future purchases of clothing, jewelry, accessories are in your closet right now. Like if you have a favorite sweater that's caramel colored, that you're like, whenever you go out, you want to wear it. And when it's at the dry cleaner, you're really frustrated. Why not think about buying a bag in that color, or a necklace that has that color in it? You know, like go back to what's there. So many of the clues are in the closet right now. And I would say repeat your successes.
oh, this is great. Well, David, thank you so much. It was fun and refreshing, and
Wonderful to see you.
yeah, the time went by too quickly. So maybe I'll try to sweeten you up into another talk, because I really want to dive into archetypes. I thought it was beyond. It is so interesting, and I know it's so many people asking me questions when in my setting, like it's different kinds of questions, but they're all right on in your book.
Oh,
Yeah,
happy to do it. Yeah, anytime. We can absolutely
re-engage and do this again.
re-engage. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's absolute pleasure, and cannot wait to hear what the next book is all about. You're not allowed to talk about it yet, right? Are you?
I can't say a word.
It's okay. Okay.
But you'll love it. I know you'll love it.
Love that. Okay. Well, thank you so much, David.
Wonderful to see you.
I'm gonna figure out to end the meeting with all the multiple things. You're my very first. This was my maiden voyage with the Zoom webinar.
I'm thrilled to be there for you.
Well, thank you so much. And everybody who joined, thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.